It was supposed to be my birthday. I kept checking the time on my watch, a nervous habit I'd developed. The party was in full swing around me, but the one person I was actually waiting for, Chloe, was conspicuously absent. My seatmate, a good friend who knew me well, leaned over and tried to offer some comfort. "She's probably just busy getting your surprise ready, Leo. You know how she is on your birthday. She always goes all out." I managed a small nod, trying to believe him. As if summoned by our conversation, the doors opened, and in walked Chloe. She was holding a magnificent bouquet of orchids, imported from the Netherlands, their delicate lavender petals a perfect match for the suit I'd chosen for the evening. A smile finally broke through my frustration. The sight of her and the thoughtful flowers washed away the annoyance of her tardiness. I was about to ask her what had kept her, but my words caught in my throat when I saw a boy trailing in behind her. He was unfamiliar, and what truly snagged my attention was the Burberry scarf wrapped snugly around his neck. It was the exact scarf Chloe had shown me last week, the one she had picked out as my birthday present. The boy, noticing my stare, offered a tentative, sweet smile that revealed a pair of dimples. "Hi, Leo. I'm Sam, the new transfer student." An awkward silence descended upon the room, thick with an unspoken tension that made the air feel heavy. My friend leaned in again, his voice a low whisper in my ear. "The other day, the teacher mentioned we were getting a top student from one of the poorer counties. I guess that's him." I turned my gaze back to Chloe, my frown asking the questions I wasn't voicing. This was my birthday party, an intimate gathering of our closest friends. Why had she brought a complete stranger? And more importantly, why was he wearing my gift? Chloe set the flowers down on a nearby table and slid into the seat beside me, her composure unshakable. "We just happened to run into him on the way here," she explained, her voice smooth and even. "He's new to the city and isn't used to all this. When he heard it was your birthday, he insisted on coming to wish you well." My heart gave a strange, uncomfortable lurch. I narrowed my eyes, studying her face. The Chloe I knew wasn't some benevolent soul who went around collecting strays. In fact, aside from me, she was notoriously indifferent to almost everyone else. We were, after all, heirs to our respective family fortunes, engaged to be married since we were children. She had never given the time of day to the scores of wealthy young men who constantly tried to win her affection, a fact that had always made me feel secure in our relationship. Yet today, for this transfer student, she had broken her own unwritten rules. I remained silent, letting the quiet hang between us. It was Sam who finally broke it, looking as though he'd just remembered something important. He began to unwrap the scarf from his neck, his movements slightly clumsy. "By the way, Leo," he began, a sheepish look on his face. "Chloe noticed I wasn't dressed very warmly for the evening, so she insisted I borrow your birthday gift. I'm sorry about that." As he held it out, I noticed a glaring pink stain on the fine fabric, clearly from something he'd been eating or drinking. He watched me as I reached out to take it, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of smug pride in his eyes. He expected me to accept it, perhaps make a polite comment. But in the next instant, I let the expensive material slip through my fingers and casually tossed it into the nearby trash can. Sam's smile vanished instantly, his face draining of color. He stared at me, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief that I would embarrass him so publicly. But what was the big deal? He was the one who had, with Chloe's help, thrown down a blatant challenge in front of all my friends. "Leo, you can't just humiliate me like that," he stammered, his eyes growing red as he fought back tears. Chloe's gaze flickered to the scarf lying atop a pile of discarded napkins in the bin, and her brow furrowed ever so slightly. "Leo," she said, her voice quiet but firm. It was a warning, a subtle attempt to make me stop. I chose to ignore her. I looked directly at Sam, my own voice calm and measured. This was a gift given to me. That means I can do whatever I want with it. If I decide it's dirty, I'll throw it away. What's wrong with that? I paused, letting my words sink in before my tone turned colder. As for you, you can leave now. We are not nearly familiar enough for you to be crashing my birthday party. Tears began to well up in Sam's eyes, and he looked helplessly toward Chloe, his hands twisting nervously in front of him. Chloe didn't even spare him a glance. Instead, she wrapped her arms around my shoulders, leaning in to whisper with a sigh. All right. It's your birthday. You're the boss today." I watched over her shoulder as Sam scurried out of the room, clearly frazzled, and I didn't miss the brief, almost imperceptible glance Chloe sent in his direction. A fresh wave of irritation washed over me. I gently broke free from her embrace. "You all have fun," I announced to the room. "I'm going to get some air." "Are you mad?" Chloe's voice followed me out into the cool night air. She draped her own coat over my shoulders, a familiar gesture that suddenly felt cloying. When I didn't answer, she sighed softly. "Can you even imagine, Leo? Some people have never celebrated a proper birthday, never even tasted a real birthday cake. Sam is one of them. So when he asked if he could come to your party with those big, hopeful eyes, I just couldn't bring myself to say no. We were just lucky enough to be born into comfortable lives, Leo. Why did you have to make him lose face like that?" I took a deep breath, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Me? I made him lose face? You gave him my birthday present and showed up late to my party because of him. Did you ever stop to think about how that makes me look?" Chloe seemed genuinely taken aback by my words, a brief flash of surprise crossing her features before she let out a small chuckle. "Oh, so that's what this is all about? You have more clothes and accessories than you know what to do with. I thought you, of all people, would be more understanding." She reached out and adjusted the collar of my shirt. "I'll pick out another gift for you. Something even better. Don't be mad, okay? And as for him, I won't let it bother you again, I promise. Leo, don't ever forget, you are my fiancé. No one else will ever matter as much as you do." Her gaze was filled with the sincere affection I was so used to seeing, and I found myself nodding slowly. We had been raised in the same world, shared the same values and hobbies. We had chosen each other a long time ago. I convinced myself that this small, irritating incident wouldn't be enough to truly affect us. I thought that was the end of it. But then school started again on Monday. As Sam walked past me in the hallway, he seemed a bit wary, but I couldn't miss the flash of defiant pride that he quickly tried to hide. I soon discovered the reason for it. During our tennis class that afternoon, Sam showed up wearing a full outfit from the luxury brand C. The girls in our class immediately began to buzz with excitement. It was a piece from their upcoming collection, not yet released to the public. Surrounded by a circle of admirers, Sam blushed and explained softly, "A friend of mine gave it to me. Since I'm new, you guys probably don't know me very well. I'm just good at my studies. My family background is nothing like yours. But my friend told me that I deserve every good thing in this world. She said I shouldn't let anyone's judgment hold me back." He added with a pointed look in my direction. "In other words, some people are just judgmental jerks. I just try to ignore them." After his little speech, Sam turned to the girls who had been complimenting him. "Let's play tennis together. I've never played before, but I've played badminton. It should be pretty similar, right?" To his surprise, the expressions on the girls' faces changed instantly. They exchanged mocking glances and quickly excused themselves. "Sorry, we've already formed our teams for practice." With that, the group scattered, leaving Sam standing awkwardly in the middle of the court, completely baffled by the sudden shift in atmosphere. I had to chuckle to myself. He didn't understand that they had only been impressed by his clothes because they assumed he was some new, wealthy kid. His clueless comments had just blown his cover. Finally, the coach asked if anyone was willing to partner with Sam for a few drills. I raised my hand and walked toward him, my racket in hand. He straightened his back and bit his lip, watching me approach. He held his racket up high, in a stance that looked more suited for baseball, which immediately drew a fresh round of stifled laughter from the onlookers. Sam grew flustered, clearly not understanding what he was doing wrong. Before he could even process what was happening, my first serve was already rocketing toward him. He had no time to dodge, and in a panic, he squatted down and covered his head with his arms. I lowered my racket, already bored with the exercise, and walked up to him. "So your friend gave you the expensive clothes but didn't bother to teach you how to actually play the sport?" I asked. Sam's eyes reddened with embarrassment as he remained crouched on the ground, tears beginning to fall. "Leo, that's enough." It was Chloe. She had walked over at some point and was now helping a tearful Sam to his feet. She shot me a disapproving frown. "I was the one who gave him those clothes. Why do you have to be so sarcastic about it?" Sam gently tugged at her sleeve, his eyes still brimming with tears that he was trying to hold back. "It's my fault for playing so poorly and making Leo laugh at me," he mumbled. Chloe gave me a sidelong glance before offering Sam a comforting smile. "Everyone has a first time. When he first started playing, he was so bad all he could do was fetch balls for me." Sam managed to smile through his tears, looking up at her with adoration. "Thank you, Chloe." I silently watched the two of them, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. After a moment, I turned and walked away. I used to believe that Chloe knew where to draw the line. In all the years we had been together, she had never had any sort of flirtatious entanglement with anyone in our social circle. But now it seemed she just hadn't met someone like Sam before. Chloe and I had been engaged since childhood. It was a strategic alliance between our families, a business marriage. But over the years, a genuine affection had grown between us. When I was 10, my mother passed away after a long illness. It wasn't long before my father remarried and had another son, and after that, he never came back to see me. The whispers and gossip that followed me were overwhelming, and I became more and more withdrawn. Chloe was like a ray of light that broke through the darkness. Fearing I was lonely, she spent all her free time with me. Even when my stubborn pride meant I didn't always treat her with the warmth she deserved, she never got upset. Worried I would waste away at home, she used her own birthday as an excuse to drag me to an amusement park. I couldn't resist her persistence and finally agreed to go. That day, I saw my father again. Not far from where we were standing, there was a family by a large slide. A little boy was at the top, too scared to go down. His father stood at the bottom, encouraging him gently. His mother smiled, taking pictures with her phone to capture the happy family moment. I stared, a blank feeling washing over me as tears began to well in my eyes, thinking of my own mother and father. The little boy finally slid down bravely, and his father caught him at the bottom, swinging him around in a joyful circle. The man's familiar face stunned me. It was only then that I realized it was the father I had missed so desperately. I cried out, "Dad!" But he didn't hear me, or he pretended not to. He simply walked away with his wife and their son. No matter how I ran after them, calling his name, he didn't stop or even look back. I tripped and fell hard, my knees scraping against the pavement, blood instantly soaking through my pants. Chloe rushed over, holding 2 ice cream cones, her own tears spilling over when she saw the state I was in. Sitting on a park bench, she carefully cleaned and bandaged my wounds, repeatedly asking, "Does it hurt?" I just shook my head, numb. In that moment, I finally accepted the truth. My father didn't love me anymore. That evening, she practically carried me all the way home. Under the warm glow of the streetlights, our shadows stretched out long behind us. A tear from my eye fell onto her neck, and she said it felt like it burned right into her heart. She turned back to look at me, her expression showing a maturity far beyond her years. "Leo," she said seriously, "we are going to be together forever. My parents will be your parents. We will all be your family." From that day on, I truly accepted our arranged marriage. It felt like my destiny. But now, something fundamental had shifted between us. Maybe it was time to seriously reconsider our engagement. I was lost in these thoughts during class when my classmates started returning from their break. A few of them walked over to my desk. "Hey, Leo, what's the deal with that Sam kid getting so close to Chloe? Have you seen what he posted? It's so cringy." My deskmate handed me his phone. Sam had posted on his social media feed just 10 minutes earlier. The caption read, "No matter how difficult the world seems, with your patient guidance, anything feels possible. Thank you for showing me so many new things and for always having my back. It's so nice to have you around." The photo was taken from a low angle, with the guy holding the phone mostly out of frame, showing only half his body. The girl, however, was clearly Chloe. She was smiling brightly, making a heart shape on her cheeks with her fingers, her eyes looking up at the person holding the phone, not at the camera. Seeing the color drain from my face, my friend looked worried. "Did you and Chloe have a fight?" he asked cautiously. I just shook my head, unable to speak. The bell for lunch finally rang, and everyone dispersed. I bowed my head, trying to hide the silent tears that were now falling. After a few minutes, my personal attendant, Alex, sent over the menu for my lunch. "Leo, here's today's menu." I took a deep breath and made my way to the private restaurant on the school grounds. On the second floor, there was a small kitchen dedicated to preparing my meals, a nutritionally customized plan designed by my grandfather. I had just taken the tray that Alex handed me when Chloe walked in, with Sam trailing behind her. Seeing that Alex was about to put the rest of the dishes away, she quickly stopped him. "Wait, Alex, can you prepare 2 more meals?" Alex looked at me, waiting for my permission. Chloe walked over to me, biting her lip as she explained. "Leo, I brought Sam here after our tennis practice. The cafeteria on the first floor is out of food, so I thought he could eat up here." I kept my face a mask of indifference. Because of my relationship with Chloe, she was the only other person allowed to dine with me on the second floor. Today, she was being far too presumptuous. I looked at Alex and spoke calmly. "Put them away. You can clock out for the day." "Understood, sir," Alex replied with a nod. He was, after all, hired by my grandfather specifically to cook for me. He wasn't stupid. He knew exactly who he was supposed to listen to. I was holding my plate, about to take a seat, when Sam rushed up to me. "Leo, if you're upset, you can take it out on me, but please don't be mad at Chloe, okay?" He bit his lip, his voice pleading. "I won't eat. Just let Chloe have a meal. She used up a lot of energy teaching me how to play tennis earlier. She can get low blood sugar if she doesn't eat. You two grew up together. You shouldn't fight over someone like me." I let out a cold laugh. "Move." Sam grew more anxious, grabbing my arm and shaking it forcefully. "Leo, I'm begging you, just let Chloe eat," he pleaded. The force of his shaking was so strong that my plate suddenly slipped from my grasp. The carefully prepared food spilled onto the floor, splattering all over my shoes and pants. Sam looked terrified, his eyes turning red with helplessness. "Leo, even if you're against me being here, you shouldn't waste food like that. Farmers work so hard to grow our food," he said, masterfully playing the innocent victim. Watching him twist the situation to blame me, I laughed in pure frustration. "Weren't you the one pulling on my arm just now? Why are you trying to pretend you're so innocent?" Sam's tears started to fall in earnest, and he looked incredibly wronged. "Leo, my family are farmers. How could you possibly think I would do something like that on purpose? How could you say that about me?" I replied coldly. "Should I call security and have them review the camera footage?" At that, Chloe looked at me, her eyes full of disappointment. Leo, what have you become? You're so aggressive, so full of yourself. You really feel like a stranger to me now." As she finished speaking, a mocking laugh suddenly echoed from the doorway. "Chloe, after not seeing you for a few years, you feel like a stranger too. So unfamiliar that I'm starting to think you must be blind," a familiar voice said. Both Chloe and I turned to look. Maya was leaning against the doorframe, her arms crossed, a playful smile directed at me. I was stunned, completely surprised to see her back from her studies abroad. Her father had sent her overseas after he had remarried. She looked taller now, almost 5'7", and her confident posture was eye-catching. Chloe stared coldly at her. "What are you trying to say?" Maya just shrugged innocently. "Exactly what it sounds like." She turned her gaze back to me, her smile still teasing. "Leo, it's been so long. Aren't you going to take me out for a celebratory meal?" Seeing Chloe's face turn pale with anger strangely lifted my own spirits. I took a step toward Maya. "Where do you want to eat? It's your choice." Behind me, Chloe's voice cracked slightly. "Leo, you're going out to eat alone with another woman?" I glanced back at Sam, who was cowering behind her, clutching her sleeve. Noticing my gaze, he shrank back even further. Chloe's expression kept shifting, as if she still wanted to argue, but I was already walking out the door with Maya. At the hot pot restaurant, Maya ate as if she hadn't had a decent meal in years, barely pausing between bites. "You have no idea how much I missed this in England," she mumbled, her mouth full. I chuckled. "Slow down. No one's going to steal it from you. How has life been for you these past few years?" Maya wiped her mouth with a napkin and suddenly looked at me with a serious expression. "Why don't you consider me? A woman who isn't virtuous is not worthy of you." I raised an eyebrow at her directness. Maya continued. "While I was overseas, I was studying and working part-time. I developed quite a few software programs on the side, and I've kept up with my fitness too, feel my muscle." Seeing the proud look on her face, I replied coolly, "You've overdone it." Maya pouted. "You used to say I was too weak, and now you're saying I'm too strong?" On the way back to school, I couldn't help but think about Maya's bold suggestion. I was so lost in thought that I didn't even notice Chloe standing beside me until she grabbed my wrist, her expression dark. "Leo, how could you have dinner alone with her? Don't you know about her feelings for you?" Listening to her accusatory tone, I shook her hand off and retorted coldly, "And what about you? Teaching Sam how to play tennis hand in hand, giving him expensive clothes. Didn't you know how he feels about you?" Chloe's face changed subtly, and she tried to explain, her voice taking on a helpless tone. "Leo, you've misunderstood. I see Sam as a younger brother. It turns out my mom is his sponsor. I only found this out after I got back from our trip. I felt like I had to make up for lost time. He's unfamiliar with this place, so I feel like I have to look out for him. Can you please not be angry over something so insignificant?" Before I could respond, Maya, who had just finished her re-enrollment paperwork, jumped in. "Leo, I don't mind if you see me as your sister at first," she said with a wink. Watching her smug face, I had a strong feeling she was intentionally leaving out a crucial word. Chloe's face darkened immediately, and she gritted her teeth. "Maya, if you keep pestering my fiancé, don't blame me for being harsh." That's when I laughed, throwing Chloe's own words back at her. "It's just a small thing, Chloe. No need to get so angry." Chloe seemed completely stumped by my response, her face alternating between pale and flushed. Suddenly, Sam appeared from out of nowhere, glaring at me. "Leo!" He rushed over, his voice filled with frustration. "Chloe cares so much about you, but you're messing around with another woman behind her back. Is that fair to her?" Maya looked at him as if he were an idiot. "So," she asked with mock seriousness, "you and Chloe were just playing dumb earlier?" "I didn't." Sam's face turned bright red. He was at a complete loss for words when faced with Maya's directness, and just lowered his head in grievance, his shoulders trembling as he let out a whimper like a frightened rabbit. Seeing him like this, Chloe couldn't hold back any longer. She pulled Sam away from the confrontation. "Let's go." As she passed by me, her tone was icy, and she left me with a threat. "Leo, if you keep this up, our family's marriage alliance might not last much longer." I watched her back as she walked away, hand in hand with Sam. He glanced back at me over his shoulder, the wronged look in his swollen eyes now replaced with a triumphant pride. Our eyes met for a moment, my own face expressionless. Though I hated to admit it, he had gotten under my skin, like an irritating weed that you can't seem to get rid of. But the person who kept giving him the chances to do so was Chloe. So Chloe had to be dealt with first. Maya furrowed her brows. "That White Lotus isn't an amateur." I took a deep breath and looked at Maya beside me. "Could you help me get a day off from school? I need to go back home." When I arrived at my family's estate, my grandfather was in the yard, watering his gladiolus flowers. As soon as he saw me, he put down the watering can. "Leo, what are you doing back all of a sudden? Are you feeling unwell? Should I call the doctor for you?" I shook my head. "I'm fine, Grandpa. There's something I want to discuss with you." He led me to a bench under the old oak tree and said gently, "Go ahead, son. Let's hear it." I took a deep breath. "Grandpa, I don't want to marry into the Chen family anymore." After the words were out, I lowered my head, unsure how to face him. This was, after all, a monumental decision, one that involved decades of cooperation and shared interests between our two families. But to my complete surprise, my grandfather just laughed heartily. "Silly child, what are you so worried about? The Vance family doesn't need a marriage alliance to sustain its legacy." I was a bit stunned, having expected him to try and talk me out of it. My grandfather looked off into the distance, as if he were lost in a memory. "Actually, I was never in favor of the marriage alliance in the first place. It was your father who agreed to it. Your mother loved him and trusted his judgment, so she didn't object, wanting to protect his dignity. After your parents had their accident, Chloe stayed by your side and treated you well, so I accepted the arrangement. Now that you're bringing it up, you must have felt wronged in some way. My grandson should never have to feel wronged by anyone. I will speak to the Chens. Besides, whether you're married or not, the Vance family legacy will still be handed down to you." He pointed to the plot of gladiolus flowers, and I could see tears glistening in his eyes. "Your mother loved these flowers when she was alive. They're just like her, proud and tenacious. I trust that you will manage the Vance family legacy just as she would have." I felt a lump form in my throat, and I hugged my grandfather tightly. "I will, Grandpa," I choked out. "Thank you." After that day, Chloe hardly came to school, almost as if she were intentionally giving me the cold shoulder. She was busy traveling with Sam, visiting all sorts of places. She had no plans to take the college entrance exam, as she had already been accepted to a university abroad. The original plan was for us to get married after we finished our studies overseas, but after my conversation with my grandfather, I had changed my mind. I wanted to stay in the country, be close to my grandfather, and start learning how to take over the company. Maya, seeing that I was now serious about taking the entrance exam, began to study diligently with me every day. Although she had been abroad for years, she hadn't fallen behind in her academic studies. In the meantime, my friends would occasionally share screenshots from Sam's social media with me. There were pictures of him and Chloe watching the stars at a hot spring resort, going to Disneyland 3 separate times just so she could take nice photos of him, and patiently going on shopping sprees for new clothes. Happiness seemed to spill out of every word he wrote. My friends couldn't help but urge me, "Leo, if you don't go and make up with Chloe soon, she really might be won over by that pretty boy. Chloe is just tough on the outside, but soft on the inside. If you just talk to her, she'll leave Sam and come back to you in no time. I didn't reply to any of them. I just blocked everyone who sent me those messages. Whether it was their own idea or they were relaying messages from Chloe, there was no longer a need for us to be friends. The time spent reviewing for our exams flew by, and before we knew it, the 3-day entrance exam was over. I turned off my phone and took a long, deep nap, completely oblivious to the grand gesture Chloe was planning downstairs, or her intention to stage a big public declaration of love. She had sent me a text. "All right, Leo, enough of this. The exams are over, and we should start getting ready for America. This afternoon, come downstairs. There's a surprise for you." A large crowd had gathered, eager to witness Chloe's confession. Maybe because I was taking too long to appear, they started whispering amongst themselves. Chloe looked quite embarrassed and sent me a low-voiced audio message. "Leo, hurry down. If you try to act cool for any longer, there will be no turning back for us." I was finally stirred awake by all the noise from outside. Groggily, I looked out my window. The entire villa was surrounded by a sea of flowers and candles, with Chloe standing in the middle, clutching a ring box, her brow furrowed as she constantly tried to call my phone. Just as I was about to head downstairs, Sam ran up to her, breathless. He looked at Chloe with an awkward expression. "Chloe, I heard that Leo has been living with Maya lately. They might not even be awake yet." Chloe's face hardened, and she raised her head abruptly. "What did you say?" Her entire demeanor was terrifyingly intense, and she looked ready to storm into my house, that is, until she saw me standing at the doorway in my pajamas. Her face darkened even more as she snapped, "Leo, explain yourself. Is what he said true or not?" "What do you mean, true or not?" Maya's voice drifted down from the top of the stairs as she came down, yawning. Chloe's eyes fixated on Maya, who was dressed in a similar set of pajamas, and she instantly broke down. She charged forward and landed a hard punch on Maya's face. "Maya, you dared to sleep with my man. Are you asking for it?" Chloe's eyes were practically bloodshot, red enough to be frightening. Maya, who had taken the punch head-on, was jolted awake. She cursed quietly under her breath and immediately swung back. The two of them got tangled up in a heated fight. Frustrated, I shouted, "Stop it, both of you!" Chloe wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of her mouth, her voice hoarse. "Leo, how dare you? You are my fiancé. How could you do this with her? Have you no self-respect?" Maya landed another hit, and the wound on Chloe's lip split open wider. But I wasn't finished. I grabbed Sam, who had been watching from the sidelines, and delivered a swift slap across his face. His cheek instantly reddened, and he yelled while clutching it. "What are you doing?" I looked at him coldly. "You've got a real flair for twisting words, don't you? So clever at spreading rumors. You'd better come up with a good story for when the police show up, won't you?" Sam turned pale immediately, stammering, I just heard." I scoffed. "You heard right. Maya has been staying with me lately, but what exactly were you trying to imply with that last part of your sentence? Open your eyes. This is a villa, not your little shack where you have to shove everyone into a single room, got it?" Chloe's focus finally drifted back to me, a flicker of realization in her eyes. She rushed to stand in front of me. "Leo, I knew you wouldn't do something like that. I looked at her and shattered her illusions without a shred of mercy. "I forgot to tell you. Our engagement is canceled." She shifted from angry to completely baffled. "What did you say?" I said, "Our engagement is canceled." She stared at me, her expression one of utter disbelief. "Stop joking, Leo." She couldn't seem to process that I would be the one to cancel the engagement. In her mind, that was supposed to be her leverage against me. "This can't be." Chloe kept shaking her head, her whole body trembling. She must have had some suspicions, but she couldn't bring herself to accept the reality of it. I spoke calmly. "I'm not joking. Why would I still want to be with you after you have repeatedly crossed the line for another man? Chloe clenched her fists and shouted, I didn't! Sam and I are innocent! I couldn't help but laugh at that. So, even when you're going to hot springs with him, going to Disney with him, treating him exactly like he's your boyfriend, you're still innocent, huh? Chloe froze, but then stubbornly defended herself. I just wanted to make you... How ridiculous. You're the one who screwed up, yet you're still trying to shift the blame onto me. I stopped talking. A few black Bentleys had slowly pulled up to the villa's entrance. My grandfather got out, looked at Chloe, his usual warmth completely gone. He said solemnly to her parents, Take your daughter home. Then he turned to me. We're leaving, Leo, let's go. I waved Maya over, and we followed my grandfather inside. Behind us, Chloe's parents quickly acknowledged my grandfather's words and pulled a protesting Chloe into their car. Inside, Maya was sitting on the couch, looking a bit pitiful. It hurts. My face won't get scarred, will it? I rolled my eyes at her dramatics. But seeing her swollen lip, I grabbed the first aid kit and began to treat the cut for her. Maya stared at me, a blush creeping up her neck and ears. You have to give me a title, she declared. What? You just told everyone that we've been living together. Now everyone thinks I'm your girl. Don't you owe me a proper title? Wasn't it you who said you couldn't go back to your own home and had nowhere else to stay? I gave her a cold glare. I don't care. Maya started acting cutesy, pouting and batting her eyelashes. It was kind of silly. I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. It was, I had to admit, kind of cute. You laughed. Does that mean you don't hate me? Maya crouched in front of me, her eyes sparkling with hope. I like you, Leo. I really, really like you. Before, I knew you had an engagement with her, and you liked her, and she was nice to you, while I was just someone who had been abandoned by my own family. But I never once thought about giving up. Every single day I was abroad, I quietly kept tabs on you through our mutual friends. I kept telling myself, if she ever treats you badly, I will come back and take you away from her. The blushing seemed to be contagious. Maybe it was because what she said was so sappy. I leaned down and gently kissed her. All right, don't say any more. I'll agree to it, okay? Before I could even finish my sentence, she took the lead, pulling me into a deeper kiss. It was clumsy and eager, completely without a plan, but it felt right. During the days we spent waiting for our exam results, my grandfather took me to the company headquarters for some preliminary training. Chloe somehow found out about my schedule. She showed up at the office with a bouquet of flowers and stopped me at the entrance. Leo, I didn't mean what I said that day. I was misled by Sam. I've already broken things off with him completely. I promise he will never bother us again. I chuckled lightly. Maybe it was too laced with sarcasm because Chloe suddenly looked lost. Leo, why are you laughing? Do you really think this is all because of just one Sam? Chloe pursed her lips, trying to reach for my hand. I frowned and instinctively pulled away. Her hand froze in mid-air and she looked hurt. Are you disgusted by me? I admit I overstepped my bounds, but I just wanted to make you jealous. I wanted you to care more about me. I watched her quietly for a moment. You allowed Sam to get close to you. You indulged his provocations, and you helped him time and time again. I gave you chances, but when you used canceling our engagement as a threat, that was the end for us. I started to walk past her. Realizing my cold attitude wasn't going to change, Chloe's face fell, and she hurried to catch up to me. You know I was just saying that in the heat of the moment. Why did you have to take it so seriously? Are you really going to give up on everything we've had since we were kids just because of that? If you're not with me, who would you be with? Are you seriously considering Maya, that reject? She lowered her voice. Leo, you're young and naive. Even if you don't think about yourself, you have to think about your grandfather. You can't just be headstrong because he dotes on you. He's getting older, and the Vance family business needs someone familiar with it to help manage it. Do you want the legacy of the Vance family to fall apart under your hands? I came to a sudden stop. I felt like I had just heard the most ridiculous joke. What are you daydreaming about? Even if we were to get married, the successor to the Vance Corporation will still only be me. Chloe was stunned. How is that possible? How can you alone manage such a massive company? I sneered. Don't you know? My mother succeeded my grandmother as head of the company, so why can't I succeed my mother? So, you thought it was fine to mess around with Sam on one side while waiting for me to come and make peace, all because you were so sure that our family needed you to help manage the company? Chloe looked as if I had hit the nail right on the head. Her face turned from blue to white, and finally, unable to contain her frustration any longer, she snapped, "With a mindset like yours, who would ever want you? You're destined to be single forever." Don't you worry about that. Leo has me as his wife, and that's more than enough. I'll take very good care of him. Maya walked over, holding a food container. Come on, she said to me. Ignore her. I'm hungry. I took Maya's hand in mine. Behind us, Chloe was left utterly speechless. It seemed she couldn't believe anyone would make such a bold statement. I, however, remained calm. I didn't feel that anything Maya had said was strange at all. 2 weeks later, the college entrance exam results came out. Maya and I both got into University A, our first choice. I chose to major in finance and investment, while Maya picked computer science, a field she was naturally gifted in. As we were leaving the school after declaring our majors, I spotted a familiar figure at the main gate. It was Chloe, and she looked rough. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hair was a mess, and I could faintly smell alcohol on her. She had always been so concerned with keeping up appearances. It was the first time I had ever seen her look so defeated. "Why is she here again?" Maya muttered, clearly annoyed. Chloe saw us and hurried over. "I want to say something," she rasped, a hint of desperation in her voice. I sighed. It was time to put a definitive end to all of this. I squeezed Maya's hand. "Give me 5 minutes, okay?" Maya relaxed her grip. "Just 5 minutes, all right." In a quiet corner away from the gate, I kept my tone cool. "Say what you have to say." Chloe looked at me, clearly having mustered up all her courage. "Leo, what if I told you that I could do everything that Maya can do for you?" "What?" I was taken aback. "I've thought about it," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't want anything from your family. I just want you. I can't live without you, Leo." There was no pride left in her voice, just a careful, fragile plea. After knowing her for so many years, for a moment, I believed in her sincerity. But the things she had said and the actions she had taken were like spilled milk, impossible to take back. Whatever I had once felt for her was long gone. I simply shook my head. "But I don't like you anymore." Her face turned pale, but she persisted, her voice laced with bitterness. "Leo, remember? We promised when we were kids that we would be together forever." I softly interrupted her. "Yeah, when we were kids. People change, Chloe, and you aren't the person I knew back then." Chloe froze, looking like a statue. Then, she started sobbing like a small child. "I regret it, Leo. I really, really regret it. How did I lose you?" From a distance, Maya called out, tapping her watch. "Time's up?" "Coming," I replied. I looked back at Chloe one last time and said goodbye calmly. "Don't bother me anymore. I'm moving on with my life. You should too." Chloe looked completely defeated, tears flowing down her cheeks as she whispered softly. Just as I turned away, "I'm sorry, Leo." I waved a hand over my shoulder without turning back, and strode forward. Maya stood in the brilliant sunshine, smiling as if she had just won the entire world. She reached out and tightly held my hand. "I just learned how to make sweet and sour pork ribs. I'll cook them for you tonight." "Sounds good," I said, smiling back at her. The weather was clear and bright, our shared dreams resonating between us. Our story was just beginning.